Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of Black?
I don't
There's
know
a
that we
reason
want
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself. Ooh.
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No! Hello. Oh, look,
Hello.
we're small and far away.
We are. There we go.
There we go. Now we're big and close.
Now we're big and close. Oh, and I need my light so that I have some more viewing. I'm more visible.
Oh, good.
All right.
Hello.
Well,
Happy Thursday, January the 12th, in the year of our Lord 2023, or the Common Era.
The Common Era, yes. And welcome to Ben and Jake Write a Movie, episode 53.
53.
Episode 53.
Yes.
So, yeah, here we go. Yesterday was good. We came up with some good stuff.
We did.
Yesterday's episodes.
We did.
Actually bringing our idea into some public domain areas.
Yes, even more so. I thought
even more so.
Some other extra nuggets of goodness.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Good.
So, topic for today's show: pre-writing.
I think there's something to. Because I've been experiencing something in the last 48, 72 hours with regards to social media. So I wondered if we could have a little talk a bit about social media as a writer and how it helps and how it potentially harms.
All right, great. Well, go for it.
So, as you know, but I had my first viral tweet.
Yeah. What's it up to now?
It's up to 8 million views and 20,000 replies.
Wow.
And it was just one of those funny things of do something with like I just being silly in the moment. And it was making movie title less intense. I'll go first. Mission Possible. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, retweeted and replied to it. Patricia Cornwell replied to her. It's just all these people that have been like getting involved with them. Like, this is so funny and fun. Anyway, so social media, I think, can be a great boon. Curse, I think. So I think we've really experienced like screenwriter Twitter.
Yes.
And that's one aspect of Twitter. And what I think is nice about screenwriter Twitter is it can be a very supportive community of people that helps you grow. But also, the internet is dark and full of assholes. And can really be like, it's a very toxic place as well. But hey, ain't that just mankind for you?
Right. Humankind.
Let's be inclusive. So there are benefits, I think, to social media. I think in terms of business stuff, I think having a social media presence can be important when you're starting out today. Obviously, we're doing some social media right now. I think there's great benefit because I think it allows you to engage with people in all aspects of the industry. That could be directors, that could be other writers, it could be managers. I don't know that many agents on Twitter. I don't think as themselves. There are definitely a few managers on there who have taken a great interest in finding clients from social media. There's screenwriter Reddit as well. We're on there from time to time. So I think there is benefit in, getting things out there. People start to talk about scripts and share scripts. I think that's very positive as well. I think the negatives of Twitter are, or again, let's just say social media.
Right.
I think you have to be on your best behavior at all times. And I'm going to extend that, and something we've talked about, and I actually vaguely remember them talking about this on Script Notes as well, which is if you see a movie or a TV show and you don't like it, don't talk about it on social media.
Yeah.
And it's tricky, isn't it? Because I know for a fact that before I was a professional screenwriter, I would absolutely do that.
Sure.
Bunch of movies. You go and see a movie, you go online.
I hated this.
You know, I think you need to not do that. I'm not saying you can't have your opinions. Have your opinions. I just would be conscious about sharing them in a very public forum like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because why, Ben? Why might you not do that?
Why? Well, I mean, I think it's rather obvious. I feel like people, you don't know who you're going to meet or who worked on that project or who might also be on that particular social media platform and go, fuck this guy or fuck that girl. Like, why?
Totally.
Like, who cares about your opinion?
Yeah.
I mean, look, there are a lot of people online. I have a very kind of mixed feeling about all social media.
Yes.
I did not really do anything with Twitter for a very long time. It was only leading up to our release of The Princess that I decided, okay, I should probably go online and start to do some self-promotion.
Totally. Yeah.
And, some people get a lot out of it and really, really enjoy it. And I think that's great if you do. And it can be a great way to network yourself. But there are people on there of significant importance.
Yes.
There are studio heads on there. There are big producers on there. There are big directors on there.
Yeah.
And this town, and we've said it many, many times, it's a relationship town, and it's the kind of thing where there's no reason to badmouth anyone in that way. Like, what do you gain from that other than I want people to know my opinion? Like, it's so bullshit. Now, part of my problem is social media, period.
If there's praise for a project, for a show, for a movie, totally do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like, think of it as in you just went to a screening where the director is there. Are you going to walk up to him and say, I thought your movie was shit? No, but if you really enjoyed it, you might go up and be like, dude, that was awesome. Congratulations.
I think that's a really great way of thinking about it. Like, don't do anything online
you wouldn't do in person. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think that would be a lesson that we could all learn.
I think the problem with social media, and it's a much broader topic than beyond screenwriting, but is because there is a feeling of being safe and removed. People feel as though it's not like you're right in front of that person, and so you can say whatever you want to say, and all social graces and all politeness goes completely out the window, and tact and everything else that we as people in polite society prefer to how we like to behave, especially if you want to be friends with people or make a network of any kind. You just wouldn't behave that way. If you were out at a bar and you were like hanging out and all of a sudden, this actor walked up who was in a movie that you didn't like, or you didn't like their performance, you're not going to go up to them and say, dude, your performance sucked. Especially if you'd like to get to know them because you want to maybe use them in a project one day.
Or just the potential of.
The potential of. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
You don't know. The thing is, you just don't know where your paths will cross. This town is small.
So small. It's so and even if you don't live in Hollywood, the industry is just small.
Oh yeah. I mean, I literally my uncle had me over. He lives in Burbank, and he had me over for an afternoon thing he was doing with his neighbors. And one of his neighbors, in fact, his direct next door neighbor, and I were in acting class together 15 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
She's in casting now. I'm a writer now. It's like, it's such a small world and small town and small business. And you go like, I don't like, what do you have to gain? I like to think about that before spouting off my mouth. It's like, why are you saying this? Like, you almost think about it in terms of like, if you were writing a character, like bring it back to writing. Like, what do you want? And would you actually say it if there's nothing that you want from it?
It's a really great way of thinking about it, isn't it? It's like, what's my motive? What's my character's
What
motive?
is your motivation for saying these things?
My character's just an asshole.
Well, that's what you're portraying. If I was writing a character who went online and talked shit about people all the time, that character, I would only be doing that because I wanted to show how much of an asshole that person is, or arrogant or egotistical or whatever. It's like, And
here's a great question that's just come in right now. Among the recent Golden Globe noms, who has a bad rep off screen? None of them. They're all wonderful people.
Yes,
they're all great.
There's
wonderful people, and I've got nothing bad to say about any of the nominations whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, no, but truth be told, to our viewer here who asked the question, I don't know, nor would I ever share publicly things that I do know.
Yes.
And so now, if I'm with a friend who I trust and we're sharing war stories, am I going to talk a little shit? Maybe.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes you'll be meeting with a producer and you'll have that moment of going, does anybody know so-and-so? And everyone's like, no, I don't know them. And you're like, great, I've got an awful story I need to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
It's that part first. And it's interesting talking about what we talked about yesterday, like what are red flags? That might be a red flag.
Yeah, I mean, usually, look, in meetings with people that I don't know, I usually would keep my mouth shut. And we've had experiences where people will tell their own stories, and I'm like, I'll go, okay, like, but like I'm saying, if you're with one of your screenwriting buddies, and you're like, oh, hey, have you worked with this producer, and you want to give them a fair shake, then I think that's cool. I actually think that we as screenwriters need to stick together because there are people out there that aren't good to work with or aren't nice. This, there's a whole big thing right now about the SVU showrunner. I can't remember his name, and I have no personal connection to it whatsoever, but it was a big article either yesterday or the day before about this very prominent screenwriter who's just been recently promoted to being the showrunner at Law & Order SVU, which is the longest running show on television, still has a massive audience, big, huge thing. And all kinds of people started coming out of the woodwork saying how horrible he is to work with. And of course, he denies it. And I have no experience, and so I am not commenting on one side or the other. But what's interesting about that is, like, I do feel like it's important. We have now seen in the last 5 or 10 years really horrible people get canceled in this business for good reasons. People who the Scott Rudins and
called out for bad behavior.
And so
I
now
think that's slightly different.
This is different, but and I don't think that that's a social media thing, but I will say that social media can translate into smaller and private groups.
Well, it's interesting.
I think private groups are better places for that.
There have been examples on social media of
calling
I
people
feel like you hear it more in TV of people going, I worked for years on this show, and this person was an asshole, not just to me, but to other people. And and I need to make this public.
Yeah, sure.
And again, I think coming down to what we're talking about as part of this. Like, you know, I think we're going to see a real end to toxic showrunners because of that.
Yeah.
Of the rightly so, the fact that people could be able to call them out and say, hey, but obviously in this world of social media, it's very easy for things to go public and to spread very quickly among people in Hollywood. And that's, again, in those particular circumstances, these people are going, I don't want to work with this person again.
Right.
You know, really, it's more about on social media, you know, if you're going to be talking, here's the thing, if you're going to be talking smack about someone, or really not just talking smack, you know, talking about your negative experiences with someone, there's a real intention behind it. You know, the world needs to know that this particular person is toxic and does not deserve to be where they are, and he needs to have, or she needs to have some kind of censure. You know, that's the intention behind it, rather than I fucking hated Prometheus.
Right.
Because one day you'll be working with Ridley Scott, or not.
Or not.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's it is an interesting thing. I think it's an interesting, just kind of like broader idea, social media being a place where a lot of people will express opinions. But I do think because this industry is so small and so relationship based, that expressing your opinions about people and about the things that people worked on so passionately,
completely.
You know, another thing that I think of is when you go into a room and you're meeting with producers, you probably should know, I mean, you should know what movies they've done recently, but you really don't want to talk negatively about things that they may have been involved in some way. And sometimes you don't know. You know, there are producers who were studio executives who on their resume it will not say that they oversaw that movie.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Because you won't necessarily. I was watching the movies that made us over the holiday break, and I showed my kids the Home Alone one, and Joe Roth was instigational in getting Home Alone made.
Right.
Now, we haven't met directly with Joe Roth, but we're working with Jeff Kirschenbaum, his partner. But had we been meeting with Joe Roth and we'd said, fucking Home Alone, worst film ever, you know, we wouldn't, because we wouldn't be able to look on the credits and go, Joe Roth produced that.
Yeah.
You know, it's an example, again, of going, you know.
And there's lots of examples of...
Loved it.
I mean, and look, that doesn't mean you're not allowed to have an opinion. But and sometimes people will ask, and that becomes uncomfortable as well. But you know, because you don't want to, you're like, I don't know, maybe someone in this room.
Well, again, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's if you hated a movie and someone asks who was involved with it, what did you think of the movie? Don't say the thing that you hated. Find one thing that you could say. I really love the cinematography. There was one scene where I enjoyed the performance of so-and-so, you know?
Right.
I thought it was a great concept.
It was really interesting. I thought it was really well told.
Really well told.
It's really well told. I mean, look, there's also things that I would say people genuinely know were bad, and they become, and like, you know, that like if people are talking about a specific disaster dumpster fire of a movie that no one, even the people that made it, are gonna go, yeah, that was a fucking failure. You know, you don't want to be mean about it, but like, it's okay to acknowledge those things.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, we're working with a producer who made a couple of very large movies. He's made many large movies, and like, he talks about one, is like, yeah, it it was okay.
Right.
And the sequel, and like this is the guy who like made this thing happen, and like he knows it. And when they express, you can be like, well, you know, I mean, in those kind of situations, I go, well, I quite liked it. I tried to share it up. You know?
Yeah. It is tricky, huh? Because it's like you don't want to. There's like this weird thing of going, well, I want them to think that I'm smart. And if they don't like it, but I say I really liked it, are they going to judge my opinion of movies?
Right, totally.
Are they going to think that maybe like if that's the kind of movie I like, that somehow that's what I'm going to write?
That's really tough, isn't it? Because sometimes you're like, oh, you just put down the film that I fucking really love.
Yes.
And then you say,
say anything. You're like,
well,
actually,
I really 1986 Transformers a work of art.
Right. I know
it is. It is a work of art.
It's difficult, right? It's like, I mean, I really liked Avatar. I think some people definitely didn't. If I was in a room with a producer and someone was talking about how they didn't like Avatar, I don't know what I would say. I'd probably just go, yeah, I've heard a lot of people didn't feel that way. Avoid the question.
Step away. Danger.
We obviously diverted from the social media idea.
But it becomes about being truthful and about sharing your opinion.
Expressing your opinion in the world.
So I think Too Long Didn't Read on social media, if you didn't like a project and you're posting as you, don't do that. If you love something, go right ahead.
Basically, create an anonymous account so that if you really feel the need
to have
be a dick, do it anonymously.
Create a dick account. Too Long Didn't Read, create a dick account.
I just don't understand the need for people to do that. I get that there's like, that's a whole other conversation. There's need for like people to get a reaction out of people. Like somehow that like is fulfilling.
Some people just emotionally engage with drama and they love to create drama and they love to be involved with it. It kind of satisfies something in them. I do. I'm not one of those people. Nor are you, Ben. Nor are you.
No.
One of the reasons I love you.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go. Cool.
There we go. So let's talk. Let's get back into
this movie.
This wonderful movie that we're diving into.
You're absolutely right. If you have just a bit of housekeeping really quickly, if people are watching, and I was streaming on Twitter as well, if you would be awesome and just pop over to the YouTube page where this is streaming, go ahead and subscribe to us there. We're just trying to increase our visibility so that we can get this out to people who may find it useful, and maybe you're finding it useful as well.
We've had actually some really wonderful comments lately.
Yeah, thank you.
Someone recently just writing, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I found this podcast."
Thanks.
And
we really enjoy doing it,
and it's fun, and
we really enjoy it.
The more engagement we can have, the better.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the time to watch, again, we are on Apple Music and Spotify.
Yes, as an audio-only podcast.
Yes.
So you don't get to see our beautiful faces.
or the screen that we're sharing, but we try our best to describe what's going on.
The visual gags that we sometimes do.
Right. So, let's dive in here. I want us to start to push forward.
I do too.
I feel like we've gotten, I don't want to say stalled, but we've had some really good forward movement in terms of like what we want to do, changes that we want to make.
Yeah.
And yesterday, as I said at the beginning of the show, I was very excited about going into kind of that mythological aspect. I feel like it almost like infuses more of our brand into.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So I would like the question that I'm going to start with, and it's all the way back at the beginning, is knowing what we want to do by making this character Lilith and knowing that we're going to create a personal backstory to this being. That was really interesting.
For some reason, my Siri just got activated on my computer. Is now talking to me. I have not touched or done anything.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm going.
Go away, Siri. Go away. Go away.
That was really weird. I didn't do anything. I think.
Yeah, and your microphone changed, your volume and everything.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I activated it.
You activated.
Hey Siri.
No, don't. Don't do it.
Wait, no, mine just activated.
Continue with what you were saying.
So what I was saying is, we've had lots of conversations about this prologue.
Yeah.
Right? Lots of conversations. Now, interestingly, like with all of the mythology that we're talking about, I almost feel like the prologue has even needed more. But now I don't really feel like it would be the same thing. For sure. I don't even know where the Zod character fits in, because that's not the personal relationship that we're talking about. He's still the big bad henchman trying to go out and da-da-da-da. We talked about the kind of I think we left yesterday saying it's like the negative Neo for Sam, right? And that basically you've got our Lilith character who in a way is your Morpheus, but instead of trying to make Neo his ally, she's actually trying to kill Neo.
Sure.
You know,
yeah.
She's not Smith, though, and that's what's interesting.
Yeah.
She is more Morpheus than Smith.
Yes.
And that obviously that will change,
of course,
in Act 2. But how do we establish what the fuck is going on here? And to a point that you made the other day about exposition, with these changes, and I'm not really, I genuinely am not coming with an answer. I'm just kind of asking the question: what do we need to know?
And that was the question, and that's what I was about to ask right now, and what we kind of touched on a little bit last week. What do we need to know coming into this movie? What do I need to understand? It was interesting because before we got on a little bit earlier, I saw Avatar last night. Very much enjoyed it. And we were talking about the early parts of Avatar. And you were talking, and I think what you were saying is right, which is, you start off with Avatar kind of going, here's what's happened since you were last on Pandora.
Right.
The birth of the children, all that stuff. And you said, if you just were with Jake Sully and his family, you'd be like, oh, he's had kids.
Right.
He's had 3 kids. What's going on with that one? She doesn't seem like she is. Oh, okay. There's the scene where, if you haven't seen Avatar.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Pause, put your volume down for 30 seconds. The daughter of the Sigourney Weaver Avatar. You could say, well, I said, don't you need to know that? And you said, you can see that in a scene where she goes and looks in the cryo tube in the pod and sees her sleeping mom. Right. Oh, okay, that's her mom. There's probably a way to explain the spider character as well.
Sure.
Again, what do you need to know? And it could be argued that you didn't actually need to know that going into that story. Right. So, question back to here, unspoiler alerts now, back to our story, which is just one big spoiler alert for a movie that we're eventually going to work on and write and get made, is what do we need to know? That could be revealed at some point.
So here's an interesting thing, and it's not even that it couldn't. I mean, everything could be revealed. It's at what point does it make the experience of watching the movie better? Sure. So the first Avatar, which I watched again previous to seeing the new one, also does exposition at the beginning. But in that movie, I actually found that exposition very helpful because I didn't know when, where, how, what. Like the story wasn't really about how we ended up on Pandora, but knowing why we were on Pandora made me very easily understand the motivations of the two factions. And so I went in and it was like, okay, now this doesn't necessarily, none of this has to be explained in any other way. We can get on with the story now.
Right.
You know? Right. And so sometimes there's information where you just want the audience to know it because it helps understand, but you don't want to spend time, or at least a lot of time, having to see a scene or do something whereby you're expressing that. You know, in this particular movie, you've got a character now, Lilith, who is one of the first demons, if not, you know, like right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, totally.
I'm not sure I need to know that she and Babylon were there together, and yet at the same time, does that make the understanding of then the story? We're not telling that story, I guess is what I'm saying. We're telling the story of
that's right
for now.
Yes.
So what makes it easier for us to tell that story now? So that the audience can just sit back, relax, and feel comfortable. I think that's a lot of times in world building movies, which is generally what we do, whether it's fantasy or science fiction or whatever it is. You want the audience to feel comfortable in this new paradigm.
Sure. In this world,
otherwise, the questions become distracting, and that's what you don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But it was interesting going back to the video I watched. It's like, give them this information when they absolutely are begging for it. I need to know what's happening. Oh, okay. Got it.
Right.
And I had thrown out that last week, and I'm still open to the idea of there being no prologue. And starting with Lilith, modern day, and not fully knowing what's going on. She behaves in certain ways. She does certain things. She's got a bunch of locks on her doors. Why is that? Oh, what kind, you know? Now,
I guess
the argument against it is something that we often do in the movies that we write, which is the opening scene of our movies generally tells the audience what kind of movie they're watching. So that they expect that. Now, that's not to say there aren't great, wonderful examples, From Dusk Till Dawn being one. Probably the best version of it ever, where you think you're watching one movie and then you're watching something completely fucking different. You know? But generally we go, if it's an action film, we start with an action set piece. If there's
here's the issue that I run into, and it's a tough one. Exposition is hard in movies to figure out. It really is. But I hate being told it in dialogue. Like, I hate having and now we're going to give you a dialogue exposition dump.
Yeah.
Because, I've been begging to hear this. I don't know what's going on. There's no otherwise you're doing a flashback, which I also don't prefer to do unless it's part of the story.
And it's interesting, and again, something that on this video it was really interesting to highlight. It was like he said, flashbacks have no stakes, and I think that's really true. When you see a flashback, you go, nothing. I'm just being told story in a visual sense.
Prologue can,
but a prologue can, and that's
don't know what happens yet.
Exactly. I don't know what I'm watching, who I'm engaging with. I know that's our lead actress, who I recognize from other films. The story's probably about her. Have faces on the poster, but again, where am I in terms of this being a script? The read. What's the experience of the read?
Like, for example, okay. here's an example in this particular movie that I would go, I don't know how to get this information across well without doing it outside of either a prologue or then it becomes dialogue. So the character of Lilith, who we establish at some point as a demon somehow, ends up kidnapping Sam, and they learn that Sam's becoming Babylon.
Evil.
She's becoming evil. She's becoming the Babylon the Great is taking over your soul, or you're gonna become the new version of her.
Yeah.
That is the information that Sam needs to know. By the way, this is a bad thing. You're going to become this ancient demon, and she's going to want to wreak havoc on the world, and you're going to be that person. How much of I guess Lilith's relationship with Babylon is important to then go into the story of, like, what I wouldn't want is, like 3,000 years ago, me and her we had this big fight. We had this fallout and da-da-da-da. And then I'm like, well, I'd much rather have seen that. And then when you get to that scene, it's like, Sam doesn't need to know the history from a character or plot perspective. It's not important to Sam. It's important to us to understand it because we want to know why it's personal for Lilith, right? So I guess it's like finding a way, like if you're doing exposition and it's organically important for the character to learn it, then in dialogue, the teacher can teach because it's needed.
Yes,
but if it's just that I'm telling you a story and really it's not for you, it's for the audience, that's the bad dialogue.
That's the bad, yes. And ultimately that, again, I think that's the most important thing is, what do the characters, like, is it for the character or is it for the, now, what we do have with Sam, which is good, like Sarah Connor, is Sam doesn't know what's going on.
Correct.
Sarah Connor needs to be told, in the future, robots wipe out mankind. There's a resistance. I've been sent here through time to save you from that thing who's trying to kill you, to stop the resistance from happening in the first place.
Right.
Because she needs to know that. And of course, we also need to know that too.
Yes.
But there's a reason why Reese in that film goes, I need to tell you what the fuck's going on. Because you've been...
Right.
But at that moment, you go, cool, great, got it. It's done well. You know, but it is just told to her.
Yeah, and there's probably things that he says to her that she doesn't necessarily need to know, but she might want to know. And there's, I want to get to know you better, and I want to know why this, or tell me more because I'm curious about what happens in the future, what happens to me, what happens.
Right.
Like, I can understand. Again, it's like if it organically is part of a character's desire to know that information, then I don't feel that that becomes bad exposition, because it's coming from character, and it's coming from plot, and it's coming from those things. I wonder though, like when you're talking about history that isn't necessarily relevant because it's already known by the character that needs to know it.
Yes, exactly right.
Like, that's the stuff that you need to get out for the audience, not for the character.
There's a line in Big Hero 6 that is just like the worst exposition ever. And the line is along the lines of, oh yeah, this is it. The big brother says, what would mum and dad say? And young hero goes, who knows? They died when I was only 7, remember?
Anytime a character says, remember when, that's bad exposition.
Totally.
You remember when we were 5 and we used to ride our bikes down the street, and then there was this weird, creepy guy with a balloon? Like, I'm like, Okay, like that.
Unless the artful way of doing it is remember when we were 5 on that bike ride and they just crack up laughing. Oh man, I'll never forget.
Right.
Then you go,
if the character had forgotten and I'm trying to remind them,
sure, totally,
that comes from character.
It absolutely does.
But if the character clearly still remembers, and I clearly still remember, and the only reason I'm saying it is because the audience needs to know about what happened when we were 5.
Totally.
That sucks. And you gotta, and look, sometimes there's no way around it. You're not going to go into a flashback there. There's probably no way to do that in a prologue. Maybe, maybe not. And so sometimes you just got to suck it up and go, you know what? I have to do it. I have to do it. Right. Yeah. But if you can find ways to do things through character, or that's where I would probably go prologue, like Lord of the Rings prologue, right? None of the characters in that movie need to know that Sauron defeated the armies of the humans and the elves. It's all kind of accepted as historical knowledge. Like,
right.
But we as the audience needed to know that to understand, you know?
I suppose though, but I guess the kind of potential argument against it is Frodo doesn't know. What is this, Gandalf? But again, it would have been a story moment. You know, what you have there, young Frodo, is the One Ring. But again, there's so much of it.
But he does. He just only has to tell him this much because we've already seen it.
We've already seen it. Yeah.
And so he only has to tell Frodo what Frodo needs to know. Totally. He doesn't need to tell him the whole story of the war.
Right.
It's not important.
Sure. Absolutely. The whole history of the ring. One of our viewers is saying, reminds me of showing versus telling lesson from primary school writing. Yes, absolutely right. It's and at what point do you show something, and at what point do you need to explicitly state it? And I think that is really what we're trying to get down. What do you need to tell the audience, and what will they feel okay being shown?
Yeah, this viewer Int Pro also thank you for your comments.
Yes, thanks for your comment.
They say they remember a quote from Lucas about how you only get a few opportunities to show the audience your setting. Wide shots of the surrounding. I think setting is also part of exposition in a way. What's that?
Yeah, keep going.
Depending on what it is, it's like you don't necessarily need to explain where you are if you see it.
Yes,
know,
or what's happened in a place.
Right.
You know, if you're in a little village in World War II and Nazis have walked through and there are dead bodies everywhere, I kind of get I know what's happened.
Yeah, but like, you know, for example, I'm going to use the princess as an example of that. Okay. If there hadn't have been the opening wide shot of the tower the way that it was, or in our original script, if she hadn't looked out the window and seen how far high she was, right? Someone could have written it where the guys walk in and they go, man, this tower is so high. What did we just walk up? 15 floors?
No, it's easily 18.
And then, and then you go, oh, they're in a tower that's really, really tall.
Yeah.
Bad way of doing that. Much better to just see it through her looking out the window, going, holy fuck, and then it's an emotional thing of neading to know where you are.
Really.
Point. I'm going to bring it all the way back.
All the way back to this thing, which is
point of what. So what is the story that is the backstory that's going on in terms of Lilith, and if we continue to go with Babylon the Great. And that story is a story that both Lilith and Babylon know. And so there will be aspects of that story that need to be shared with Sam. But does all of it? And then if it doesn't, is there stuff that we as the audience need to know? Because if it's not something that Sam needs to know, but we as the audience do, then we need to find a way to tell it that doesn't just feel like, and I'm randomly telling stories because it's audience exposition.
Yeah, no, like you said,
it
must always be because a character needs to know this information. Well, let's just go starting off with the bits of information that at some point are going to need to get revealed, and we can decide whether those bits of information are top-loaded in a prologue or in some way briefly and expertly laid out by us in our stuff. So Lilith is a demon. I don't know that Lilith and, let's just call him Babylon for the moment. Lilith and Babylon have a history.
Right.
Babylon is prophesied to return when all the things are right. Lilith has given up on her demonic ways and is trying to live amongst mankind as a human being. Is there anything else that you need to know?
I mean, I guess it's what have the demons been doing?
Okay.
Right? We're going to want to know, is this something that they've been, if that's part of the plot, that this has been something that they're working towards, we'll want to know why and for what purpose.
Okay.
We'll probably want to know, like in our original prologue, when and why Lilith left the other world. Like, why is she hiding? What is that all about?
Sure.
Because that's a whole separate thing from the Babylon story, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why, and I guess, that's an interesting kind of thing. If it's not directly related to the Babylon story, then is there a reason to go into it later?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's important for her character.
Yeah, it's funny, as you were just talking about, the other way of getting out exposition. The moment I was seeing was, and nothing we've really discussed, but when if we still keep this like this, they're in Lilith's bookstore, but rather than through Lilith expounding this information, Sam and Hank discover it in a book. Holy shit, you seen this? They used to be married. They used to be together, according to this archaic Mesopotamian book. They go.
You didn't tell us this was personal.
Totally. It's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, Again, knowledge that our characters would want and need to know, and that's just a way in which the
they discover it.
Didn't share it.
Totally.
And they discover it. I mean,
they discover it. We
totally. That's absolutely a way to do it. But so going into the beginning of the movie, and Lilith's desire at the beginning, which is to kill Sam. She has no one to talk to. So what do we as the audience need to know before then to not be totally fucking confused?
Okay, so there is a scene currently where she is able to talk honestly and with
a demon that she captures. Okay.
So we can see through that she is a demon. He can call her outcast, something like that. We'll go, got it. She's not with them.
Okay.
He's coming back. He's coming back. Over my dead body, he is. Who? Don't know. But I know she's not happy about it, and then we're going to see her performing some actions to stop this thing from happening. We're going to be asking questions. she's a demon. Okay, that's weird. She's some kind of demonic creature. Okay. She doesn't want this person to come back. She's going to go and kill a person, but then she doesn't do it. I feel like it's in many ways the same kind of, you're asking all the same kinds of questions as you might do at the start of something like Terminator.
I guess what I'm missing, though, from all of that, and yes, okay, outcast, but again, it's like, I want to know why she's living in this town. And just calling her an outcast doesn't give me that. I want to know why Lilith, the most famous demon in history, lives in a small town in Colorado and owns a bookstore.
Do you need to know that at the beginning, or can that be revealed through the telling of the story?
Well, that's the question. Why does anyone else need to know why? And doesn't it inform our desire to see her succeed, desire to, again, as the audience, like, I want to feel like this is a person who, we've talked about, like, she's a demon who doesn't want to be bad, but can't help but still be a demon. And I want to be understanding how that came about. It's a question that I'm asking as I'm going, why is she here? And so maybe there's a way to get that out through character. I'm not saying there isn't.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
but it's going to be so far down the line that again, it's like what you're saying about when a person's dying to know what's going on. Like, I want to know why a demon is living in Colorado as soon as I know she's a demon. Like, I'm immediately going, there's a lot here and I don't understand. And then she's going on this trip to Portland with a sniper rifle. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm going, what the fuck is going on? In certain kinds of movies, I like feeling like, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but I'm totally entertained. There are movies where I feel that way. And then there are certain kinds of movies where I go, this is annoying, and I turn off the movie because I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Mm-hmm. And I guess I just I don't think that this is the genre of movie where that kind of intense mystery is what I would want as an audience member.
I don't know that it's intense mystery. You know, I think about what was coming to mind was I was thinking about Legion. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think Legion's an amazing movie. I think it's a decent movie. But you saw a bunch of things at the beginning that you were asking questions about. What's going on with that? Why that? Why that? Why that? And you were propelled to keep watching because you were asking those questions. And then at some point in the story, it comes out. I'm actually an angel. You do see in that particular one brief flashbacks. I don't think they were necessary. But it did visually let us see, oh, this person was an angel, who, whatever, you know. You're bearing Christ. You're bearing the second coming of Christ in your belly. I'm going to tell you that. You know, there was a history of certain things. So in a movie like that, I didn't need to know everything. And it was there's something weird going on here. And I want to know what it is.
See, I mean, I didn't watch it recently.
No, yeah.
So I can't comment. But for me, if I'll use the Terminator because that's the one that I watched.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
If you didn't have your words over black or your your initial moment in the future, mm-hmm. If you didn't have or the words over black, if you didn't have any of his flashback dreams moments whatsoever, if you lost all of that backstory and all you saw was them arrive, which you don't know what they are, where they're coming from.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then there's a girl in a waitress, and they're looking for her, and you didn't get any backstory until Reese and Sarah were together. I think it'd be so much less impactful. I genuinely don't. I think it'd be a worse movie. And I think you could say now, knowing all that information, oh, but I wouldn't need to know it. But if you were going into that movie for the very first time, never knowing anything about it, you'd be going, I have no idea what the fuck is going on in this movie right now. And I am half an hour in or more, and I still don't know what the fuck is going on. And so there are no stakes. I don't know.
How could you say that? How could you say that you see Arnold Schwarzenegger taking out women called Sarah Connor, and that we're with someone called Sarah Connor? The stakes of the movie are set, and they're the same all the way through. It's the life of Sarah Connor. We don't know the bigger import of that until half an hour in, where Kyle Reese states it. But, you know, you see in that particular movie, you see Michael Biehn and Arnold Schwarzenegger arrive in a ball of electric light, naked. And you're going, what the fuck's going on? I don't know. I mean, I
think the fact that I know that they're coming from the future is far more fun and interesting in that movie. If I didn't, I'd go, are they aliens? Are they like, what are they? I have no idea. And I'm going to be the problem is I'm going to be thinking about that the whole time, instead of focusing on what I actually need to be focusing on, which is the tension of the fact that Sarah Connor's life is in danger. I'm going to be still wondering all of the things, and yeah, okay, so you have the stakes of Sarah's potential life as the movie moves forward, but it takes a while to get there. There's quite a long opening section. But you don't have any of the world stakes, obviously. And I think that it's more the way that he chose to open that movie was very specific. He chose to not tell you about Sarah, but to tell you about the world stakes. He doesn't say, and they're coming here to find Sarah Connor. He does say that the fate of the future rests on tonight.
Let's play with that for a second. Is there a way to just know that information going into it? Demons exist. The Antichrist, whatever we want to say, is Babylon. I'm not sure I'm 100% with Babylon, because it doesn't immediately make me go, like, I think of Babylon as a place.
So do I. But I think there were others that, as we were doing a quick Google search, and this is one of those things we can do offline.
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, I think there are other ancient.
Yeah, but it's demons are real. They've been working towards making the Antichrist come back to Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. I think that's the only information you need going into it. I don't think you need all the information about Lilith, in the same way as you don't get all the information about Reese or the real information about what Arnie is in the first parts of the Terminator. You just have, here is some information that you will need to understand at the beginning of this movie, and more information will be revealed. The first bit of that information is, oh, hang on, this person I'm watching, she's not human. She's maybe one of them. Why? But why is she fighting on the other side? That's interesting. Why? You know?
Well, I mean, if you're going to use the like, for example, like using the Terminator still, there is visually both the stakes presented in terms of what the future is going to look like, as well as through the flashback before Sarah enters the picture, Reese's backstory done through visual representation as well. You do know who Reese is before all of that goes in. He's clearly fighting on the side of the humans, and we know that there's a war between the humans and the machines because we also know that. All of that backstory isn't told through dialogue. It's given to us through that kind of exposition.
But here's the thing. Here's what I like about what we're doing with Lilith. She's a demon. She's going to get the information. She's going to go to Portland. We don't know what she's doing. She's got a fucking gun. And she is aiming at this person. Why is she? What's going on? And she decides not to kill them and instead saves this person from the demons that are trying to get her. There's just so much interesting and complex information going on there. Unless the other version is, you know, you're too late. You'll never get there in time from the demon she finds in Walmart. You know, we'll see. What are you going to do? I'm going to kill her. Again, bad dialogue, but could that information come out through? And again, we're asking questions. Why she thought she was a demon? Oh, but perhaps she's a demon working on a different side. They had a relationship that was antagonistic. They're clearly not working together. I feel like it can. I feel like there's a version of it that can come out of scenes rather than, you know, flashbacks or even visuals in this movie. But I will concede the point that perhaps knowing that demons have been around forever and are going to bring forth, I'll just continue to call the Antichrist for the minute.
Right. Or at least have been doing bad shit
to make that happen. We're at an hour though, so we're going to have we didn't open up like an outline. Remember, we opened our outline. Tomorrow we're going to start off with it open.
I mean, yeah, it's tough, right? Because if we don't have the answers to this, there's no point in anything writing anything. I still don't know what this again. It's like everything that you talked about. Yeah, I totally agree, and yet I still kind of there's something so fascinating about Lilith's desire to live among humans and why she's there.
I really like
don't think that. The problem is that's all character backstory and has nothing to do with the present day plot. And that's where I'm struggling.
The only thing that the current prologue does have to do with the current day plot in the current version of it is this was another event where demonhood was trying to influence mankind.
No, in the current prologue, we see her escape and leave demons behind.
But what were they doing
with Zod? It's not about that, but that's what I'm saying. It's that's not the information that is important about that prologue.
Sure.
What it gives me is who she is. And who she is.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? Yeah.
That's what it's happened again. Siri is answering me again. I don't know what is happening on my.
I need to disable.
That's funny. Well, thank you for everyone. I'm going to say a quick hey to Trisha, who says hi in the comments. Hi, Trisha, a friend of mine from high school. Nice. Also, Int Pro. Just a quick word on the comments in this podcast. I love the engagement. We love the engagement, and we love questions. We are not asking for creative ideas, and there are multiple reasons for that. So while I love that you're excited about it, just avoid leaving.
Yeah, because we don't want to get into any weird legal.
I don't want to. We don't want anyone saying, "But I came up with that" later on. So ask as many questions as you want, and we will try and answer all of them. But just hold off on leaving the creative ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow again. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.